Hey everyone, and welcome back to GameVault HQ. In this in-depth retrospective, we're setting our sights on a game that quietly reshaped the boundaries of interactive storytelling, Ico. This minimalistic masterpiece for the PlayStation 2 may not have turned heads commercially at first, but over 2 decades later, it cemented itself in gaming history. Whether you're revisiting it after all these years or discovering it for the first time, let's explore how Ico managed to move hearts, spark entire design philosophies, and redefine what video games could be. I still remember the first time I laid eyes on Ico. It was the early 2000s, a period when games like Grand Theft Auto 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Final Fantasy X dominated conversations with their flashy worlds and epic storylines. Amidst all that noise, there was something quietly alluring about the cover of Ico. Though it didn't scream bombast or hyper-realistic action, it looked strikingly different from anything else on the shelf. Little did I know then that I'd stumbled onto a subtle yet profound journey. Ico was developed by Japan Studio, a Sony-owned division known for producing innovative titles with a distinctive flair. Spearheading the project was visionary director Fumito Ueda. Originally conceived for the first PlayStation, the game underwent a significant overhaul when development shifted to the more powerful PlayStation 2, a move that allowed Ueda and his team to broaden the game's artistic and technical horizons. Ueda's vision was heavily influenced by his background in animation and his desire to craft a video game that felt more like an immersive, emotional experience than a conventional product. His guiding principle, often referred to as design by subtraction, became the philosophical bedrock for every facet of Ico. In practical terms, this meant stripping away anything that didn't serve the core experience, resulting in a minimalist approach that contrasted sharply with the complex, action-heavy games of its era. The story begins in a small village where a young boy named Ico, noticeable for his horned appearance, is deemed cursed by his community. Tradition dictates that children born with horns must be offered to a nearby castle to lift this curse. So Ico is taken there by villagers and sealed inside a stone sarcophagus. An earthquake and a stroke of luck free him from confinement, setting the stage for the player's journey through the castle's haunting interiors. Inside this sprawling fortress, Ico encounters Yorda, a mysterious girl imprisoned in a cage. Although neither speaks the other's language, they quickly form a bond. From that moment on, your mission is clear. Escape the castle and protect Yorda from malevolent, shadowy creatures. The developers avoided sprawling inventories, skill trees, and busy user interfaces, focusing on essentials. Environmental puzzles replaced traditional tutorials, ensuring that players remain immersed in the game world. Every decision is geared toward deepening the emotional resonance between Ico and Yorda, rather than cluttering the experience with mechanics that might dilute their connection. That emphasis on subtraction shapes every corner of Ico. Light and shadow take center stage as rays of sunlight pierce the gloom of abandoned halls, casting long silhouettes that heighten the sense of isolation. Instead of a full orchestra soundtrack, the game leans on ambient noises, echoing footsteps, fluttering birds, dripping water, to create a hushed, almost reverent tone. This conscious restraint breathes life into the castle's stillness, and in turn, into the player's emotional engagement. Combat in Ico is intentionally simple. Armed with a wooden stick initially, and later a sword, Ico fends off shadowy creatures that try to abduct Yorda. These battles are not elaborate combo exhibitions. They reflect an urgent need to protect someone vulnerable. If Yorda is carried away, it's game over, reinforcing how central she is to Ico's survival and to the experience overall. What truly sets Ico apart is how you interact with Yorda. Holding her hand isn't just a button prompt, it's a core mechanic that fuses narrative with gameplay. You guide her across ledges, up staircases, or through narrow corridors, often pausing as she navigates obstacles more slowly. This mechanic underscores the intimacy of their bond. Each puzzle and challenge hinges on mutual cooperation. Sometimes you'll open a gate in one room so Yorda can unlock a magical door in another, a quiet but constant reminder that you're relying on one another to progress. Unlike many contemporaries that relied on distinct levels, Ico unfolds within a single, interconnected environment. Doors stay unlocked once opened, and puzzles can permanently alter the castle's layout, giving the game a tangible continuity. You might topple a pillar to create a makeshift bridge, or climb chains to reach hidden ledges. Rather than leaning on convoluted riddles, Ico encourages you to observe your surroundings carefully, rewarding curiosity and a willingness to experiment. The game's development took around 4 years. Initially planned for the first PlayStation, the team shifted to PS2 for added power, requiring them to redo large portions of the game. Early prototypes featured more combat-heavy gameplay and additional characters, but these elements were ultimately removed in keeping with Ueda's commitment to minimalism. Motion capture played a vital role in breathing life into Ico and Yorda. The developers placed great emphasis on subtle animations, particularly Yorda's hesitant, graceful movements, to convey vulnerability and resolve. Ico debuted in Japan and North America in 2001, followed by a European release in 2002. The European version included extras not found elsewhere, such as a 2-player mode unlocked after completing the game, letting a second player control Yorda. Regional box art differences further illustrate the game's marketing challenges. In North America, the dramatic cover art arguably misrepresented its subdued tone, whereas the European and Japanese covers, designed by Ueda, echoed the surrealism of painter Giorgio de Chirico, more closely reflecting Ico's dreamlike atmosphere. Critics praised the title for its atmospheric visuals, measured storytelling, and cohesive puzzle design. Outlets like Eurogamer lauded how logically satisfying the puzzles were, while IGN and GameSpot commended the emotional bond forged between player and companion. Despite this critical acclaim, Ico didn't perform well commercially at launch, overshadowed by blockbusters dominating the early 2000s. Its understated nature likely clashed with mainstream appetites for flashier, more action-centric experiences. Over time, however, Ico found new life as word-of-mouth fueled a growing cult following. Many developers cited it as an inspiration for environmental storytelling, minimalistic design, and mechanics that promote empathy, such as guiding or protecting a vulnerable ally. In doing so, Ico quietly proved that games needn't rely solely on spectacle to cultivate emotional resonance. On the surface, Ico tells a straightforward story of a boy helping a girl escape a cursed castle. Yet there's a depth of subtext swirling beneath the surface. The Queen, revealed as Yorda's mother, wields malevolent power to keep her daughter imprisoned. Where Ico embodies compassion, the Queen clings to immortality through her child. The castle becomes a reflection of this oppressive influence, hinting at an ongoing cycle of ritual sacrifices. The game remains cryptic about Ico's horns, Yorda's true nature, and the shadowy creature's origins, leaving players to piece together their own interpretations. A post-credits scene shows Ico washed ashore on a beach, seemingly reunited with Yorda. It's a silent, tender moment that raises many questions. Is this literal or symbolic? In classic Ueda fashion, the director leaves it open for speculation, prioritizing emotional resonance over neat closure. Ico paved the way for Ueda's subsequent works, Shadow of the Colossus, 2005, and The Last Guardian, 2016. Though not direct sequels, they share thematic elements: sparse exposition, towering environments filled with melancholy beauty, and relationships central to the gameplay. Together, these titles form a loose trilogy in spirit, cementing Ueda's reputation for pushing the medium's artistic boundaries. In 2011, Ico was remastered alongside Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 3 by Bluepoint Games. The updated package introduced sharper textures, smoother frame rates, and trophy support, allowing newcomers to discover its understated magic. Critics applauded the enhancements for preserving Ico's core atmosphere, demonstrating that its gentle power remained just as potent on newer hardware. Though it wasn't an immediate commercial success, Ico left an undeniable imprint on gaming culture. By the mid-2000s, it was frequently cited in discussions of all-time greats. Independent developers in particular took its lessons to heart, seeing how subtlety and emotional depth could distinguish their own games from a sea of high-budget action titles. Its influence can be felt in modern favorites like Journey, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and Gris, which echo Ico's focus on minimal HUDs, evocative environments, and a sense of companionship. Beyond commercial success, Ico found academic recognition as well. Universities and critics studied it as an example of gaming's potential for artistry, showing how limited dialogue, environmental storytelling, and empathetic mechanics can create profound emotional experiences. A wave of fan tributes sprang up. Artwork, cosplay, analysis videos, all dissecting elements such as puzzle design, the game's symbolic architecture, or the ambiguous post-credits scene. In an era when games often rely on robust soundtracks, Ico harnesses the power of silence. As you watch or play through its deserted corridors, a single beam of sunlight can transform the mood of an entire room. Ambient sounds of wind or distant waves amplify the castle's solitude. Every detail, no matter how small, feels deliberately placed to foster immersion and reflection. Rather than bombarding you with tutorials or busy overlays, Ico invites you to feel your way through its world. For aspiring developers, Ico remains a masterclass in synergy between design, aesthetics, and storytelling. Ueda's principle of removing anything superfluous proves that sometimes less truly is more. By emphasizing atmosphere and connection, Ico shows that a game can resonate deeply without countless mechanics or flashy presentation. In fact, the quietness is often the very thing that lingers. Today, Ico is widely regarded as a cornerstone of gaming history, credited with influencing both big-budget studios and indie creators who embrace its minimalist ethos. Its legacy is evident in the steady rise of so-called walking simulators and narrative-driven games that prioritize emotional engagement. 20-plus years on, its hand-holding mechanic and hushed ambience continue to inspire fresh takes on how player-character bonds can enrich the gaming experience. Meanwhile, fans still passionately debate theories about the castle's origins, the queen's motives, and the implications of Ico's horns. That sense of lingering mystery, alongside the quiet brilliance of the design, helps keep Ico relevant. Where other titles might fade as technology advances, Ico thrives as a timeless statement that the power of empathy and subtlety can outlast the loudest blockbusters. My own memories of first playing Ico remain vivid. It might not have had the explosive set pieces of Grand Theft Auto 3 or the cinematic flair of Metal Gear Solid 2, but the act of holding Yorda's hand across narrow ledges or rescuing her from shadowy clutches left a far deeper imprint on my imagination than any quick-time event ever could. It was proof that a gentle, understated experience could be just as gripping as any high-stakes action sequence. Thank you for watching this retrospective on Ico, here at GameVault HQ. I hope you enjoyed revisiting one of the most influential titles in modern gaming with me. If you want more deep dives into classic games, behind-the-scenes insights, or explorations of how interactive narratives shape our culture, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And let me know in the comments if you have your own memories of Ico or theories about its intriguing mysteries. Until next time, happy gaming. And remember, sometimes the quietest adventures resonate the loudest.